England og langt fra hitlisterne. Men 18 år senere indtog Harry begge dele med stil, hjertet og langtidsholdbar pop og rock. Harry havde fundet melodien og kunstnernavnet Cliff Richard og satte sig ud på sin charmerende hærgen af hitlister og fans verden over. Her 46 år senere er der rakt mere end 250 millioner albums over disken. Han har haft 119 top 20 hits. Her 46 år senere er der i den grad noget i gære. Something's going on.
Musikalsk har han overlevet 50'erne, 60'erne, 70'erne, 80'erne og 90'erne. Og nu rækker han også ud efter det nye årtusindes første årti med albumet Something's Going On. I mere end 40 år har Sir Cliff Richard charmeret kvinder verden over med sit drengede smil og glimtet i øjnene. Siden debuten med singlen Move It i 1958 har han endnu.
Yes, it is.
You're already singing.
Yeah,
A very warm welcome to you, Sir Cliff Richard.
Thank you.
Something's going on, I just said. So what's going on?
Well, I mean, this is not new. You know, I have a new album out. That's happened for me for many, many years. For 46 years, I've always had an album coming out. But what really went on was I decided to leave Europe to record. I didn't want to be recording in England because I had made such good friends of the writers and producers, and I knew the studios, and everything becomes a little too calm and comfortable. Mm-hmm. I went to the States, and I met 19 writers in Nashville, and a couple in Miami, and new producers who really didn't know they knew who I was, but they weren't aware of what I had done. And together we tried to make an album that was full of really good songs, and they molded me and asked me, can I sing like this? They'd say, Cliff, this was good, but try it like this. So it was interesting.
I mean, because you've been in the business for 46 years, so obviously a lot of people have so much respect for you that they don't dare to tell you, oh, that was a bit off-key, or try this instead. Do you need that kind of...
Yeah, I never sing off-key.
Oh, sorry.
But no, but you do need to have somebody who says, for instance, two of the songs, How Did She Get Here and Mistake, I think it was. But anyway, two of them, the producer said to me, he said, look, we know you can sing, but he said, you know, Bruce Springsteen, for instance, will sometimes sing a song that's just a story from the heart. He doesn't think about whether he's singing in tune or anything like that. So they said, would you like to try and do one? I said, yeah, I'd love to try and do that. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't think about whether I was in tune. I just tried to get a lot of feeling. You get the soul, you get the feeling. Mm-hmm. Because when you think about it, singers are just actors, aren't they? We are presenting different emotions. There's a one on the album that I've never sung a lyric like that before. It's called I Will Not Be a Mistake. So what you are saying is, look, we are in love, but if things go bad and we have to split, this is not a mistake.
But nothing in your career seems to have been a mistake. I mean, just the following, just look at the following you still have in here. It's like one of the young pop stars of 18 being in the studio. You've got a huge following.
Well, I mean, in Denmark, they've been very loyal to me over the years. I've come here very often. I've done concerts here. I've done television shows here. And Denmark is one of 3 countries which has supported me all the way through for 46 years.
What does that mean for you?
Well, it means a great deal to me. I mean, it means, first of all, that they really genuinely like me. And no matter what has happened in the music fashion, they still said, no, we like Cliff as well. And I don't mind competition. Sometimes I'm held out of the competition, though. But in Denmark and in England and in New Zealand, there are 3 countries where it's always been solid, loyal support. And it means
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's impossible to tell. I used to have it in all of Scandinavia. And then something happens. I don't know the answer, maybe simply the fact that people didn't hear about you for a while. Maybe they didn't even know you made records anymore. In fact, I do often meet people, usually when I'm in an airport lounge, and this guy will go, are you Cliff Richard? And I say, yeah. He said, oh, do you still make records? And I went, yeah. He said, oh, well, I thought you were dead. You know, of course. Because if they're busy doing their own business, they forget about all the entertainment world, and they don't know you're making records still. So that can happen to a nation. I mean, I'm sure Norway and Sweden, where I used to go always. I used to go to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark all the time, touring with my band, The Shadows. And after a little while, I realized that the record sales were lower and lower and lower, and suddenly I thought, oh, they're not even releasing the records anymore. And yet in Denmark, always a wonderful campaign, always a support for the record. And I've come over because, and it's a reciprocal thing, you go to a country that shows that it appreciates you.
So you appreciate them as much as,
of course I do.
As they appreciate you. But have you ever, in all the years you've sold more than 250 million albums, you could have any time in the last 10, 15, 20 years, could have retired and lived off your money, I suppose. What's kept you going?
You know, you can't, it's like art. You wouldn't say that to a painter, for instance, you know, in the same way as a painter will paint till he's 90 or 100, if he can still go like this and put paint on. It still happens. If you're a singer and you feel, oh, I want to express feelings using my voice, it's always going to be there. My danger is that, the danger for me will be that I won't recognize when it's time to stop.
Do you ever fear that you won't recognize that? Because, I mean, because you've been famous for so long, because you've been in the business for so long, there might be a certain addiction to singing, putting out records, performing.
I think you're right. I think I've never heard it put that way, but it is right. It is an addiction. But what I want to do is be sure that I recognize before anybody else that I'm not singing so good. You know, if I could listen to this album and my new album, and I think, oh, you know, I didn't even know I sang it that badly, that's the time to stop. Because really, you should be the first one to recognize when you haven't performed well, when you haven't sung well. It's, you know, and I'd rather catch that first. And if that happens to me, then I'll kind of bow out gracefully and say thank you for a wonderful time, but I can't really do this anymore.
I'd like to show you a picture which is just after Harry Roger Webb became Cliff Richard. Really? It's a picture from, I think it's from 1963. Actually, the year I was born. So that means it's 28 years old. But Cliff, when you look at that picture from 1963, and you think back of the kid called Harry Roger Webb, has his dream been fulfilled?
Oh, yes, but fulfilled in a way that I couldn't have imagined. You know, when I first started, people used to write about rock and roll singers like myself as being maybe one-hit wonders. People said, oh, no, one hit, that's all it'll be, one hit, then someone else will come. And I believed that. I kind of thought, well, rock and roll is so new. When I started, rock and roll was brand new. We didn't know that rock and roll would stay here. We used to sing that song, rock and roll is here to stay, but we had no idea that as Harry Webb, I would become Cliff Richard, and that 46 years later, I would still be doing interviews in foreign countries and introducing new music. The dream was never this big.
But is there ever a moment in Cliff Richard's life where you miss being Harry Webb and just be able to walk down the street in London and not be recognised?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I hope the fans understand this, not just my fans, anybody's fans, that sometimes, although it's pleasurable to be recognised, it's good to have success, it's good to have fans, sometimes it's also good to be with the people who are close to you, who perhaps you don't see very much, without the fans there. And
what do you do when you're private, then? Where do you have your private, secluded area?
The most private place is my home. And don't forget, I have 3. So one of them is...
Wealth is a good thing.
It is. Oh, yeah. When people say money hasn't changed them, they're lying. Money makes it possible for you to have things you didn't have before, to do things you couldn't do before. It's good for many, many things. And certainly in terms of my life, what it's done is given me 3 wonderful homes. One in particular is very good for privacy, and that's Portugal. I have a house, and the farmland surrounds it. So although someone could see me from a distance much further away than this, the roadway is a long way away, when I go to the pool and sit there, I can read and play CDs and swim. I can play tennis, and there's trees all around it. I am totally private. And I need that. You need to feel that you're not always on show. I need to be able to wake up in the morning and think, I'm not going to wash my hair, I am not going to shave, I may not even smile all day.
Imagine you with a beard. Can I just finish this off with what I would call more or less 5 fast, furious and private questions? And it's up to you if you want to answer
I don't know how my answers will be.
No, that's all right. Just quick questions. If you go to a night out, will it be in the cinema or the theatre or nightclub?
Probably a cinema.
If you go dancing the night away, would that be to rock music or disco?
I think disco.
Perfect morning, is that breakfast in bed or brunch in London?
It would be brunch in London.
A perfect Sunday at a football ground or at the local church?
I would go to a church if that was the choice.
Holiday, Torremolinos or Tibet?
Portugal and Barbados.
And if you drink, would you take a tequila or tea?
I would take a tequila.
Placido Domingo or Bob Dylan?
Placido.
Placido Domingo. Well, you started off by saying Move It in 1958. You're still here. You followed your heart all the way. And it's a pleasure to listen to.
Thank you very much.
So keep following your heart.